couple of weeks. It's gone on long enough. And if your workstation isn't set up properly, it has a massive impact on your spine, your posture, and therefore how you feel.
Okay, well, what is the perfect setup, or is it different? Because we're like snowflakes. We're all individuals.
That's true. So I think there are some general guidelines that we can be looking at, and we can run through those. But, the other thing I want to say, too, we were talking about this just before in the pre-chat, that when I went home last night and my youngest son, who's in elementary school, was working away at schoolwork, and I realized this makes a big difference for the kids, too, especially if they're in elementary school. They're not used to doing a whole lot of homework, especially on a computer. So this is kind of new for them, and the setup for us as adults, it really is the same general guidelines for children as well, but it's something that is really worth looking at, especially for those, the little ones with their developing spines.
Well, yeah, and anybody who's been to a parents' night knows that their desks are a little smaller.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and the desk that we have for them at home, I know our desk at home that has the big desktop computer and monitor, it's way higher for Cole than it's the right height for Craig and I, but it's the wrong height for Cole. And so we have to make sure that we have a chair that goes up and down so that he can get higher. He can get to the right height. So why don't we talk about for kids first?
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about just in general for everybody.
I think that would make a lot of parents happy.
Okay. So, ultimately, if you have a desktop computer that has a separate keyboard and monitor, this is even more important for kids because of their height, because their height is different than adults. But it's the same for everybody. We want our eyes to be level with the monitor. So if you have a desktop computer, typically the monitor is much bigger than a laptop, and the monitor height is going to be bigger. So you want to, when you're looking at your child, you want to make sure that their eyes are looking directly at the monitor so that they don't have to look down and they don't have to look up, which may mean that, if you have a desk chair that goes up and down, you may need to raise the height of the chair. But if you don't have a chair that goes up and down, you may have to put some pillows or fold up some towels, something that will bring the height of their body up so their eyes are level with the monitor. So, a lot of these things, if you've got some good equipment at home, it's great, but I don't think you have to go out and try and go online and buy things. You can MacGyver a lot of things at home to make the right setup. This is not going to end soon as far as our kids learning from home. And I think for a lot of us, even though businesses are reopening, it doesn't mean that we are going to be able to go back into the office. So just using some things from home that can work can get you through in the meantime and still be really spine friendly.
Well, and to follow up on that, we had the conversation 2 weeks ago with Mike Manjuris, who's chair of Global Management Studies at Ryerson University. And as universities and colleges have been getting together, they do not expect it to be an opening of colleges and university as normal coming up in the fall. They figure it will be an online principle. So I would think probably that will carry forward for public schools as well. Now, is there a certain focus? I know that they say, and I joked about this earlier this morning about the head being like a bowling ball because it is so heavy, but it is heavy. Yeah. And is it trying to find a center of balance for your head, making sure you're not straining anything else?
Yes, that's a great question. So if you look at your child from the side, when they're sitting upright, the general rule is the ears should be directly over the shoulders. So, you can take a picture of them and show them what they look like, but if their ears are falling forward from their shoulders, what that means is that it's actually changing the natural curve of their neck. So when you look at an X-ray from the side, there is a C-shaped curve in the neck that should be there. And it's actually a very specific measurement of curve. It should be in the range of 42 degrees. So not that you're going to see that in your child, but looking at the ears over the shoulders, that is the best way for us to just visually look at somebody else and see, are they putting their spine in the most neutral position from the perspective of the neck? So you want the shoulders to be down. You had a great expression. What did you say in the pre-chat?
Oh, yeah, I was just saying I was getting a massage, and she says, you don't have to wear your shoulders as earrings.
Yeah. And I was saying, one way of thinking about it too is put those shoulder blades in the back pocket. So you want those shoulders to be down, you want the ears over the shoulders, and you want the chin to just be sort of level. And that's when they're looking straight forward, that's what they should look like. So take a picture of them from the side and show them this is what you want to look like. And as they work along, if they start sort of slouching forward and that chin starts coming forward, you just remind them, let's get those shoulders back and let's get the chin backward, and encourage them to get up. And I'm talking about this for children, but it's the same for adults. Set a timer. Don't ever sit for more than 20, 25 minutes at a computer working or, working over books. It's really good to just get up, walk around, stretch out, lengthen the spine and pull those shoulder blades back. We tend to be very forward and slouched in our postures. So that's the general rule for the neck. And
right.
Then we also have a similar C-shaped curve in our lower back. And probably lots of you as adults, you've heard of the lumbar spine. You know that there are lumbar rolls, there's lumbar support in cars. There's a reason for that. We need to protect that lumbar curve. And again, as we start to get tired, if we've been working for more than 20 minutes or half an hour, everything starts to kind of slump forward and that curve starts to flatten out. Our pelvis starts to roll backwards. Our stomach kind of goes forward. So putting your spine and pelvis in that neutral position, I just recommend take a towel or a small blanket, for example, and just roll it up and put it between your low back and the back of the chair. So you can sit in a kitchen chair or a dining room chair. That's okay. Just make sure that you have your lumbar spine supported while you're doing that. And it's the same with kids too.
Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
Is it mostly just reminding us or like ourselves or reminding your kids and just say, okay, hey, your shoulders are slouching, or like we were talking about it earlier too, that like I've got students that, adults and kids that we'll go and we'll watch them do techniques, and you can see that they're relying too much power on their shoulders and their arms when they're doing punches or doing upper body techniques. And so we'll have to say, hey, put your shoulders down, worry more about your core and your legs. But is there any is it just simply reminding them, or are there exercises that they can do to try to improve their posture that you find works really well?
I think with kids, it is reminding them. And, the other thing with kids, too, is they're so darn wiggly, right? They don't stay static very long, whereas we as adults can sit in that slouch posture for a very long time. So I think with kids, for sure, having them do core exercises, that's sort of a whole different topic, but just teaching them how to plank or teaching them how to do a bear crawl, things like that improve their core. One of the things I have found over the last 5-10 years in practice is that kids' cores are much weaker now than they used to be 10 years ago because they don't play like they used to. So I think with kids, it's just reminding them, hey, straighten up a little bit. But I think as adults, we can use timers and things like that in our phones and in our laptops or our computers to remind us every 15, 20, 25 minutes to stand up, straighten up, tighten the core, that idea of just engaging your tummy muscles and remembering, what does it feel like for my spine to be in neutral? What you were just saying, Shan, Scott, about how they want to use their upper body as strength, this relates to how they're working away at the computer too, because when you're talking about ergonomics, you want their forearms to be able to sit as much as possible on the supporting structure, on the table, on the desk, and you want their elbows to be at 90 degrees. So if you as an adult, say you're working on a laptop, the monitor and the keyboard are essentially at the same height. So what I recommend is just take a little stool, put the laptop up on a stool so the monitor is at eye height, and grab a wireless keyboard. Push the laptop and the stool back so that you've got room. And when you have that wireless keyboard sitting on the desk or on the table, just make sure that your elbows are at 90 degrees to your arms and that you have as much forearm on the table as you're typing, because what we tend to do is we have our arms way back, so we're actually supporting our hands as we're typing with our shoulders, and that's what brings those shoulders up so that they're earrings.
Dr. Shawna Dingman joins us from Elevate Women's Health, chiropractic practice in Port Perry. I swear by the exercise ball, and there are times that it's like oh, I have to go sit on the ball. And you can sit there, and literally I've found that, you have to have the patience to do it, but you can slowly sit there, you can roll or whatever, but sometimes you can just sit there and roll a little bit and literally feel everything start to line up again. And it was what you were talking about, the pelvis. That's where you really feel it.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, those exercise balls, the little stools that are made of exercise balls, those are fantastic. I have, it's a saddle-shaped seat in my stool at work that I use, and it forces you to be in a spine-neutral position because you're just constantly aware of it. So if you have those things, they're great. And what you were saying about universities probably not going back in the fall, I was talking to my sister yesterday on the phone. She's a high school teacher, and she was saying the same thing about schools, that they are planning for school to not likely be the way we know it to be in September. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like. But, this may be a time where we begin to invest in those things so that at home, if our kids are going to be at home learning more, this may be a time to start saying, okay, this is not going to be short term. Let's figure out what we need at home to make it spine friendly.
So in some ways, just to wrap things up, exercise more important than ever?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And any kind of exercise that puts your body in extension as opposed to slouching, anything that engages your core. So, doing all the kinds of play that kids used to do, skipping rope, playing hopscotch, those playing tag, all of those things, they were fun, and we never thought of them as anything different than play, but they're actually really, really important for core strength and for proper posture.
I just happen to have something. I don't know, but I think maybe karate.
Absolutely.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yep.
Is that good exercise? I hear it might be.
It's fantastic.
Work for me.
Well, and the other thing, too, is it's that control of movement, isn't it? I talk about being on the exercise ball because it's not all, yes, in the end, it can be fast, but it starts off as slow and teaching those muscles how to stretch.
Actually, you know what? Like, in all honesty, the of course the martial arts stuff is good, but with Jen teaching fitness classes in the morning, like I'm jumping in on her classes now, and just. But at first, normally I didn't just because of my schedule, and I started looking. Okay, it's morning. I might as well get moving, and I'll do her class, and I find that I feel so good, like for the rest of the day, like just because it just started off really well that way, and go take the dog for a walk, and then go do the class, and so even something for me, just like first thing in the morning to go and get moving, and it just sort of sets the whole day up.
Let's actually just wrap up on this, Shawna, and it's a bit of a joke because we're all on the phone right now. What about the phone? People being on the phone as part of that workplace and what it does to your neck.
Yeah, as much as possible, use the speaker on the phone, use a headset or a set of earbuds on the phone. They've shown that people are on their devices way, way, way more now than they were pre-COVID because at first people were sort of addicted to the news and the numbers, and then it just became a habit. We've had to really put some things in place in our house that for Craig and I, that just remind us, just get off the phone. We do not need to be doing this. So if you need it for work, just make sure you have a headset plugged in so that your neck is not down. For the kids, they're on devices playing video games way more. Just, again, set some measures in place that allow some limitations for that and just remind them to get up and play. And for us, too, get up, work out, and do some things differently. Go for a walk, enjoy nature, do an online martial arts class.
Yeah. Well, okay, you two, go play.
I will do.
Listen, thanks for this. I'm sure that people got a ton of tips out of it, and important to remember because it's stuff that we don't think about until all of a sudden we start to hurt. So let's hope that more people get on top of it and don't end up. Not that it's a bad thing calling your chiropractor, but you don't want to be in pain when you're doing it.
For sure. Yeah.
Thanks for your time again today.
My pleasure. Nice to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Scott. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye. Bye. That is Shawna Dingman, Dr. Shawna Dingman from Elevate Women's Health in Port Perry Chiropractic Practice, and Scott Camsell from Okami Kai.